Hello and welcome to the Carbitrage podcast, episode 145. I am Eric Berger, joined as always by Ryan, my co-host, and Jana's here as well.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hi guys. And to answer your question, the total viewers actually only shows up on my master screen down here, but there are two. So there you go.
Hi everyone, all two. We just started
on
streaming,
Twitch.
so.
Yeah. No, we do live stream every episode at twitch.tv/u/EMTTECH. At some point, maybe I'll get off my ass and make a second one. But you can always watch us there. Catch us on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and SoundCloud, as far as the podcast is concerned in audio form. We also have video versions uploaded to our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search Carbitrage. Anyway, let's start with beer. What? Oh, you're drinking coffee.
I'm still drinking my coffee.
What sort of coffee are you drinking?
I'm drinking a really gross, what's supposed to be a special K-bar mocha. It's just
do you guys have
butterscotch.
the same drink?
Yeah.
And yours is also poorly made?
It's very poorly.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, so it's my favorite coffee drink from Caribou called the Cabin Bar Mocha, and I had it I had a night class last spring semester, and I literally went once a week to get this drink.
I totally
and I
understand.
got this drink and oatmeal, and the barista that was always working saw me walk in and started making my order, even if there was customers in front of me, because he just knew.
You're what you call a super heavy user.
Yeah, exactly. And so I know this drink really well, and so
sure.
when it disappeared, I was sad.
Oh, it's not over a square, it's under a
And
square. Duh.
I got a notification because I've got the app on my phone that it was back, and on the way I was like, oh my god, I can get this drink, and I got it, and it is too butterscotchy.
Too butterscotchy. So I assume
Yeah.
that's like a syrup edition, and they just put way too much of it in, or what?
Exactly. That's
Okay.
everything else seems familiar.
Well, still,
Just
it only takes one wonky. It's like
Yeah.
stoichiometry for coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much to completely ruin it.
Yeah, it needed more chocolate and less butterscotch, because I feel like a lot of syrupy flavors have an alcohol taste to theirs.
I would
too
play
much.
taps right now if I could, but
I think the barista is probably a smoker.
Yeah.
Just has no idea.
cocktail.
They just don't understand how things
Yeah.
taste. They don't have taste and they're
But yeah, so
aw.
I will definitely order another one somewhere else,
At a different Caribou.
at a different Caribou, because the hope is still out there.
I just came back from Florida, and just as I got through security in Naples, or actually it was Fort Myers, I guess, they had a Starbucks in the terminal. I'm
Yeah.
like, I needed coffee. So I went into the line there or whatever, and I saw they currently have an eggnog seasonal
Yeah.
drink, which is disgusting. It's not good. But I'm like, okay, that probably means they have nitro,
Yeah.
which is great. So I get up to the counter and I order a nitro cold brew white peppermint mocha. She's like, we're out of nitro till tomorrow. I'm like, okay, a regular peppermint mocha. I'm like, we're actually out of some ingredient to make that too. I'm like, I would like a medium black coffee, please.
Yeah, I know, it's
That's
super
just-
disappointing when they're
I
out
know.
of the ingredients. I have to drink non-dairy a lot.
Oh,
and
sure.
I can't have soy, so it's less of a struggle now, but my preference is oat milk,
Sure.
and just now, the bigger places are getting oat milk, but not every location has them.
Yeah, especially if you're dealing with something like an airport, I'm sure
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, for beverage, I am drinking a Paulaner Hefeweizen, which I bought for the LAN party, and I still have a few left. It is lovely.
I'm gonna drink that because I'm done with this. Because it tastes like butt. May I have a Paulaner?
Sure.
Thank you.
Patreon plug. If you head on over to patreon.com/Carbitrage, you know how to spell it because it's right in front of you, you can explore our 2 whole open-ended options for direct contribution and support from content consumers like you to content producers like us. If you want to, please. If not, we understand, and we will keep making the podcast. Thanks very much, guys.
Yes.
Moving on to topics.
Topics.
Woo!
Woo. That's like a wild and wacky inflatable flailing arm tube, man.
Yeah.
The first one
Or
we're covering
Reynolds.
is kind of a generic one. I think it's actually from the list of older patron topics we have, but it is 1 cc per RPM engines.
Yes.
So any engine that has a displacement of, say, 4,000 cubic centimeters or thereabouts, and has a maximum, we'll just call it a redline speed or govern speed of 4,000 RPM. That's kind of what we're after. So this I added to the notes, I think 2 weeks ago, and it seemed like a really easy topic to cover.
No.
But then I started doing mine, and then when you got here today, you
I
started.
found the engine. I finally found it. I just found it. I don't know if it pertains to this, but we have to note it.
Okay, fine.
Anyway, well, keep going.
I'll start off with just a couple of them. But yeah, I mean, we're not exploring engines that have like 5,000 cubic centimeters or 5 liters and more than 5,000 RPM. We're not really interested in that because there's a ton of engines out there, especially modern higher displacement things that have 6,500, 7,000, 8,000 RPM red lines. We want to know like a point in time, like old tech.
When did this become a thing?
Right.
Like at what point did 1 RPM per cc like exist?
Like in 2000, we got with Honda's F20C,
Yes.
we got NA 100 horse a liter. Like that was a monumental achievement.
Yeah.
But like
Now everything
this is
can do
kind of
that.
exploring, like especially I think stuff you're going to cover, which is a little bit older. It's like when did technology get good enough and engine design improve enough where people could get a relatively high displacement engine to spin at a relatively high rate of speed? Because back in the 20s and 30s, things were spinning at 2,000 or 3,000 RPM.
Not at all. And actually, this link I just posted that for some reason didn't just send me the entire link, which is kind of weird.
Oh,
That's
I don't
odd.
know. But I'm going to start actually.
Actually, that is the entire link. Click on that. 'Cause I want to start by prefacing. Before we were doing stuff like this.
Okay. Yeah, if yours is older than all of my choices, it would make some sense.
This is what we were talking about.
Hold on. I see a pre-war.
This is a engine that is extremely underswear.
Is there a train?
What
There's a
the
train.
heck?
Oh, speaking of underswear, as a
whoop.
train, it's just 2 engines and scooting. Full chooch.
Yeah, but listeners, you must understand we love trains.
Yes,
so.
trains are cool. As we're talking about other ridiculous engines.
Anyway, I gave a
So
silent thumbs up. This
this is-
vehicle, wow.
It is
Look at the caption. The caption is, what the hell is going on here?
so
Which is not something Ryan would say looking at this. He would just
He'd be, oh,
his
wow!
pants would fall
I
off.
already know what's going on here. It
Become
makes
tight.
This makes sense to me.
They'd fall off.
Eric, what do you think you see here? Why don't
So-
you describe this with your with your words?
This looks like a really old, we'll say 19 teens passenger car chassis. We're talking chain drive still. It has what looks to be a regular passenger car cowl. It has a very small boat tail. On that rear boat tail, you have 2 struts, which are holding up a very rudimentary looking exhaust system, which is over top of the driver, which leads forward to a set of 4 pretty small lead pipes to what looks to be a single cylinder head for a single cylinder engine that is roughly 4.5 feet tall.
That is
what I see.
accurate. It's 280 millimeters in
In height?
in stroke.
Oh, okay, to put that in perspective, get out your nearest ruler. You will see that a 12-inch ruler is 300 millimeters.
yeah.
A typical stroke is around 80 to 90
Yeah,
millimeters.
this one has basically a 1 foot stroke, and it is a 80 millimeter piston, which is the limit.
Yikes.
So
Oof.
there were Grand Prix races in the early teens where they were trying to limit the displacement because easy out of winning is just put an airplane engine in your car and then
Yeah.
don't ever turn, or just come to a complete halt when you're turning and then turn at like 5 miles an hour and then gun down the straight again. So their way of combating that, because those cars were always winning, they actually wanted to get innovation going on in
Sure.
cars. They said, all right, well, you can only have an 80 millimeter piston bore.
Sure.
You can do anything else. And so, of course, Leon Peugeot, they came up with this really weird bending of the rules where, yes, it is only 80 millimeters in bore, but they never mentioned anything about stroke.
Right.
So this
see
is
where this is
it's a 2.8 liter engine, and it might be able to hit 2,800 RPM.
So
Like,
I've got a few
flat out.
engines in here that are around that 80 millimeter bore.
Yeah.
And each one of those cylinders is around 500 cubic centimeters.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is what? This is almost 6 times that?
This is what 1.4 liters per cylinder because it's a V twin.
piston velocity. This is 2 cylinders.
That's the 2-cylinder.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's also weirdly it's a 6 valve per cylinder engine.
Is it a push rod?
It must be. It must be the world's longest push rod.
Is that
but
why it has like 4 exhaust pipes coming out of the head?
Yes.
Interesting.
So if you look, the intake is right there in the center.
Oh,
so you
okay.
got 2 intakes,
And
and
an
then you got
updraft
4
carburetor.
exhausts on
Good
each side.
lord.
Super duper weird. But yeah, that might be the weirdest engine of all time. And yes, I believe that one actually is that was very close to, I would say close enough that we should count this as possibly the world's first 1cc per RPM engine.
Okay.
Because
So
it's 2.8 liters and it's 2,800 RPM Redline.
That's better than any of my choices, just because it's the most unique. I mean, everything I've got by comparison is boring as hell.
But those are ones you can actually find. This car actually did have some success in racing. It wasn't anything to write home about, but it did win a couple of races until everybody got smart and decided to do like 16 cylinders and just use small bore pistons. So, what do you have?
I'm going to start with my oldest one, which is significantly newer than this, but it's the 1985-86 Ford 5.0, which I'm saying with quotation fingers, because as we all know, it's a 4.9-liter engine. But those had a maximum engine speed of 5,000 RPM when they launched.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect. So that was actually something kind of special in the mid-'80s with an engine that size.
Yeah, because you have to understand, like the Chevy 305, which is also a 5-liter engine, that did not
Just trash. And we're talking, that was like an emissions era 305.
I think the 305s are like able to do like maybe like 45.
42 to 45 is my best guess.
Like
I
45 at the
specifically
most.
research those, but yeah, the Ford 302 was a much healthier revving engine.
It's a good engine. It has, it's got its limitations. They have
huge block issues.
Yeah, huge issues with block cracking. But if you can hold the block together, you can make power.
Which you can if you're anywhere near stock power.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking like 800 horsepower.
I've heard 500 is kind of the start to worry about your block.
800, you're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
So,
But I think you can get billet 302 blocks and all that. So if you really have your heart set on a 302, you can make it work.
actually, if I remember correctly, I think there's some actual fixes where people would actually like weld bars into the valley.
Okay.
Underneath the intake manifold to hold the sides of the block together as additional bracing, and then they would like strap the block like they do on drag cars and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
I'm always surprised when stuff like that, external mods
Bracing.
work, especially when you're dealing with like welding to cast iron.
yeah, it's really weird because like you also have to understand like people were doing that in an era where people were drilling small bore drill bit holes through Honda blocks and hammering a nail through it
To try to get the floating.
nail pinning the block. Yeah.
But I see how that works. I mean,
It
a
makes
little
sense,
bit of additional stability probably goes a long way.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, it's like a little piece of, like a little push rod in the right spot that can change the world. So,
I
you
mean-
look underneath a bridge.
Exactly. Yeah, like the rebar inside of a massive bridge is usually 5/8 of an inch thick.
Yeah, and
Like
that
it's-
holds everything together.
It is
it's
the difference
just about how
between
it's used.
a functional bridge and something that'll fall
I
down.
remember the bridge building simulator in school.
That was a great game. I love that. That's available on Steam now.
Oh.
Blake and
Hell yeah.
Will play it all
I
the time.
kind of want that because I love
I'll
building bridges.
I'll
Oh,
send that to you
man.
on Steam
Okay.
tonight.
All right,
My-
another thing that we love is bridges.
Yes,
apparently.
bridges are fun.
The
We like
trains and bridges. Yeah, it's like we should
we
just have like
like
subsets of that.
infrastructure. Infrastructure.
You can
is
really
fun.
tell what kind of people we are by listening.
Very obtuse and horrible. My next one is another pushrod American V8, although let's move forward about 20 years. This is the Chevrolet LS7, so this started in the C6 Z06. It is 7 liters, 427 cubic inches, and it revved to 7,000 RPM.
That was my initial 1 liter per RPM engine.
I mean, when you think, 7 and 7. LS7, because
Yeah.
it has a 7 in the name, and it revs to 7, and it's 7 liters.
That makes sense.
Exactly.
What was the red line on Blubsky before you yanked that?
6,200?
All right, so it's definitely more.
More than
yeah,
it
it's
is
much higher.
displaced.
Okay.
Yeah. There might have been like earlier, crappier ones with bad injection that redlined it.
And we
at
should also
lower
know that
speeds,
there's a
but-
lot of like muscle car aero like the 305 that you could modify to get
Oh yeah.
to,
Yes, but this is like the stock kind of crippled.
yeah. I think
because we have to do that.
One of the first engines I was researching that I found that you could modify, the Hudson Hornet Inline 6.
Okay.
That one was a 5-liter inline 6, but it was also a side valve engine. It was really weird. You could modify them to get to 5,000 RPM because their red line was 4,200.
Yeah, I assume like even a straight 6 back in the day, as long as it had enough main bearings, those are inherently pretty balanced.
And those engines were very, very reliable. I think because they had one main per cylinder, like so they actually had like, the correct.
It was a 7 main, not a 3 or whatever.
Yeah, not 3 or some trash like that.
Like a Jimmy 6.
Yeah. No, actually had the correct number of mains on it, and so you can actually tune those to rev them out, and a lot of NASCAR drivers would do that, where they would
probably limited by just crappy heads on those.
Yeah, really. I mean that was it, and the head is in the block, so it's a valve cover on top of a combustion chamber.
Really good way of putting it.
Because I mean, it's a side valve.
Honest,
there's no head.
Basically talking about a valve cover.
It is really just a valve cover.
It's a valve cover that's got some water running through it.
Yeah, that's it. It's a water cooled valve cover. But you could actually tune
Audi,
those.
please don't do that.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where if you reach out the carburetor so the carburetor can actually make the power at higher RPM, you get a cam that can make the power at the higher RPM. You
and
really don't
valve springs that can.
You don't have to worry. Well, that's the thing is the valve naturally drops back. So it helps the valve spring a lot.
It does. I mean, yeah, you're working with gravity, but I mean, that's a lot of valve train mass.
I think that might be why that was one of the first engines that you could get some revs out of, like aftermarket, because of the fact it was an L head, and be able to make some shit in your barn. You can probably go a little bit further without having to do custom valve springs. So,
we should actually at some point do probably more research and start with like what were the first like tuner engines?
Oh, the Ford Model T engine. That had a huge aftermarket.
Yeah, you're right actually, and the Ford Flathead. I mean, those all did.
But the Ford Model T engine, the 4-cylinder, you would have immediately after it hit market, people were building aftermarket water pumps because they didn't have a water pump.
Oh,
that's right. Those were just like convection or whatever circulation.
It just circulated from convection, but people were adding in water pumps so it would spin off a crank pulley. So you just put in a
water pump.
And so you'd get the aftermarket water pump, and then people were, and so like if you actually go out to like the Race of Gentlemen and stuff, a lot of people are racing Model Ts with original engines that are heavily modified with their correct parts. Super duper cool.
And I think
stuff.
like the earlier ones had really garbage bearings, but I think if you put a water pump and bearings in it, like those are actually pretty stout.
Yeah, you can make decent power on them. They just sound awful.
Oh yeah, I mean I think those were also three main, but I mean you're talking the same.
That's a 4-cylinder though, so
right,
like,
not a V8.
Yeah,
so
it's not that big of a deal. So
anyway, so yeah, LS7. Building on that, there's another one that's technically based off a Chevy small block that I want to cover. Sounds good. Do you want to grab two?
Yeah, do you want a Paul Einer?
Actually, can I have that Kolsch that's on the bottom level right in the front?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you. This is the Mercury Marine SB4. This engine actually came out about 5 years ago.
Are you mad if I had this?
No, it's fine. You're going to need the opener in the drawer or on your keys.
An opener on my keys.
This is based off of an LS7 bottom end. It came out just after the LS7. But what this is, regular aluminum block and rotating assembly with some treatment inside of the water jackets to handle salt water a little bit better, because again, these were marine engines. But the key to this thing, what makes it really, really interesting, there's actually two things now, even though there used to be only one. Mercury Marine designed a set of dual overhead cam 4-valve cylinder heads for this thing. So it's beautiful. I mean, it's a really pretty engine.
Really cool engine.
It uses LS accessory drives, so you can still get parts absolutely everywhere, minus the alternator, because the heads and intake are too big, so that had to be relocated.
And the timing chain.
Well, yes, and the massive timing covers with timing belts.
Is there belts?
There are belts, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So
where do you get the belt from?
Probably Mercury dealers. You go to a boat store. Probably get your belts at a boat store.
Boat store.
But anyway, these initially revved to about $7,000, just like the LS7. The later revisions, I'm not going to count that, revved to $8,000.
Okay.
And these sound fabulous. Mercury, fun fact, has also started selling these as road car crate engines.
How much do they cost?
I did not look into that. Probably a bunch. Let's see if we can find out, huh? Mercury SB4 cost. $29,000.
For how much horsepower?
750.
That's
NA. It's
what
not,
you're getting,
it's not terrible,
that's gonna
but
be
you
fine.
could very easily make that kind of power with the Jegs catalog and an LS7 out of a dumpster vet
Yeah.
pretty easily.
For way less than that.
And it's not going to rev quite as high. They use that engine in the Ultimate GTR now, which is kind of cool. So that's number 3 for me. Number 4 is the Mercedes M156. Do you know what that is?
V8?
Yep. So that is
Yeah.
the 6.3. I again use air quotes because it's a 6.2, 6,208 cubic centimeters.
That is actually a 6.3.
It is a 6.2.
Yeah, but the thing is...
1 cubic centimeter per cylinder over 6.2. You can't round up like that.
No, for motorsport, you actually have to.
Whatever.
Because they actually...
You're right, because all those are 1,998 or 99.
Yeah, so if you go over, it's then... That's why Saturn's had a 1.9.
I'm just going to quote Richard Hammond in the 2008 episode of Top Gear UK, where they did RS4, C63, and E92 M3. It's 6. No one saw this 6.2 liter V8. It was 6.3 written on the side. It's heritage. It's a random number. But anyway, this engine is 6.2 liters, and it revs to 6,250 RPM.
That's actually pretty cool.
And it sounds raucous. Avoid the 08 and early 09 engines because they potentially could have head bolt problems, but these things are magnificent.
Sans the ones with North Star V8 problems.
Yeah, you just go a little bit ahead. It'll be fine. The head bolts snap off of those. It's not like a block problem, but you don't really realize it's happening.
Until it happens.
And then all of your oil is suddenly full of coolant, and then there are no more bearings, and then your engine is kaputski. Next one.
Ski, 'cause
very
it's
similar.
always Russian people that have those engines.
You're going to know this one. Mercedes M120.
Yeah, I know the M120. That's a great engine.
We have one downstairs.
Yes, we do.
So, 6 liters, 48 valves, 12 speed holes.
Very
and
cool.
500
I like
cubic
that,
centimeters
speed holes.
per speed hole. This was famously 6 liters and rev to 6,000 RPM in 1993. The M120 is a fabulous V12 engine. You do not want to ever work on one, but they make just great noises. And
Have
they're
it
not even
go.
that
Have
heavy.
it go anywhere else. Well, the good news is it's a reliable engine, so
It
you
is.
won't have to all that much.
Correct.
I'm just wondering. I wonder what Duesenberg's revved up to.
Copy link location. Oh no, photo location. I want to show the chat a little bit bigger version of the M120 because it's just beautiful.
It's so pretty.
I couldn't let our SL die after my dad crashed it 2 years ago. So there it is. That's actually...
It's a really good engine.
I think that's a later one. These are the later MAFs, I think. But anyway, yeah, oil changing on these sucks because the oil filter housing is right here on the side, so you have to pull an air box. But yeah, other than the fact that really there's no manual transmission option, these are great. They're alloy block, alloy heads, so they're pretty lightweight as far as V12s are concerned. They were 389 horsepower right from the get-go. Just sweet as a nut. Anyway, that is my last choice.
Ooh.
What?
Ooh.
What?
Wait a minute.
Okay, I'm fine with waiting a minute.
I found it.
I speak
The
for the
Duesenberg
viewers.
inline 8 single red cam engine was 1 RPM per cc. It was a 4,200 cc displacement with a 4,250 horsepower or 4,250 RPM. That's the dual red cam, but it looks way cooler than the single. So yeah, the twin
Where's
cam.
the single?
Type
That's
in
pretty rare.
Duesenberg Model A engine. Duesenberg Model A engine. There we go.
I gotta get a better keyboard someday. This thing's crap.
Right there.
Ah, I already clicked.
Shoot, right there.
Oh wow, that thing's all chromed out. Let me get the big
that's
one.
factory. Whatever. That's a dual over cam. Nobody cares. It's a Duesenberg
Just imagine
engine.
one of these with a less pretty valve cover on it.
But also by the way, that's how they left the factory.
Green with chrome.
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Very cool. But yeah,
Oh, wait.
right there. That was one of the first engines to do 1 RPM per
So
cc.
you already mentioned it, but I wasn't paying attention. Liters?
That is a 1 second here.
4 point something?
4256 cc
Okay.
displacement for the single cam.
Oh.
And the single cam had 265 horsepower, 4250 RPM.
I like that.
For the supercharged one, they made 320 horsepower.
Same Redline?
50 RPM
Oh,
less.
that.
But that's quite good. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I don't.
You also have to understand it's got a 1-to-2 bore stroke ratio, so it's 2.87.
Very under square, in other words.
Extremely under square, and is able to do that. So yeah, their torque is just unbelievable. But that's pretty cool that they were able to make that kind of horsepower. If you're wondering how much torque, they don't state how much torque they made. However, the 0 to 60 time.
Does it just say sufficient?
The 0 to 60 time in first gear and the 0 to 60 time in third gear is different by 1.2 seconds.
Wait. 0 to 60 time.
And leaving from first gear and leaving from third gear, top gear, which you can do from a stop, was a 1.2 second different 0 to 60 time. That's how much torque they had.
So you can hit 60 in first.
Well, yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I mean not first, but I mean like leaving from first. So at 0, normally when you're doing a 0 to 60 test, you go from the lowest gear.
Right.
Yeah. So if you do that, a normal 0 to 60, 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
It will hit its top speed in like whatever.
The most quickliest.
Yeah, the most quickliest. If you do it from third gear, just dead stop, and you put it in third, and you let off the clutch and go, it's like less than a second.
So what you're saying is this thing is all low end torque, no top end horsepower.
Tons of low end torque. So it makes that kind of power, which is pretty cool. But then it will also actually light up the tires in first, and you're like pedestrian crushing Great Gatsby wheel.
Spoilers.
Had to bring that out. Yeah, just completely random.
Oh shit! Yeah, I did just spoil. Don't.
You spoiled a book from the 1920s. It's their fault if they haven't read it yet.
That's a good point. I just spoiled.
Yeah, that was required reading in a lot of like schools. So if you haven't done that, even I have been required to read that book. I didn't. I bought the old 80s movie and watched that instead and did my book report on the movie. But
did you know the 80s Great Gatsby had a real Duesenberg and the new one does not?
Wow, they're slipping.
They are slipping.
I did not know that. It was a terrible movie.
Yeah. It's got Leonardo DiCaprio and a fake Duesenberg, so it can't be that great. Anyway.
It was great.
Was that all
Soundtrack
of your
was
engines?
not.
That was all of my engines. It's actually a pretty tough thing to...
If you know of an engine that makes 1 cc, or 1 RPM per cc,
Yep.
please let us know.
Yeah, put it on our Facebook page.
This is from a pretty reasonable amount of doing research, trying to figure this out.
It's a tough one.
I was looking throughout the week trying to see what I could find because I was just curious.
I mean, there's a lot of like small block Chevys that we can put in here, but that's boring.
Yeah,
this would be like a Vizio Racer video.
Yeah, we really have to contact Vizio Racer and ask them to do that.
Today we're going to be covering. No, that was too much. That was BC.
Yeah,
BC.
it was. I need to watch some more Vizio Racer. I haven't seen him in a minute.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty great.
Or even if you're listening on Twitch, if you have any other engines that are 1 cc per maximum engine RPM. Yeah. Even if it's close, we're curious.
Yeah, so. Like it's a really good question because it's either really, really bad 4-cylinders or really, really great large displacement engines.
Pretty much. I'm like, once you get to 4,000 RPM, you're leaving the really under-square 4-cylinders from the turn of the century,
and then you're
getting into modern emissions engines.
Yeah.
And then when you cross $6,000, it's just modern stuff.
It's just cool stuff. Like it's just really, really cool things.
It's a weird question. So I actually had. Unfortunately, since I started this topic, I had another one. So I put Jana's.
Yeah, let's move Jana's. You got to tell us about this thing that you saw yesterday, because I saw it too. And it was,
my goodness. So
it was a gong show.
I, for local listeners or viewers, I live off of Highway 100 and Old Shakopee in Bloomington. So I live off of Normandale, which is just an extension of 100. And so... I just have a straight ride home from Micro Center.
One second, sweetie. So if you're not from Minnesota, this is...
Well, you should be.
Yeah, this is on the west side of Minneapolis, Highway 100. It goes north-south from, one end of the county to the other.
We have a ring road around the Twin Cities. Highway 100 is like a 1/3 bisector on the left side.
Yeah.
Yes, that.
It's really nice. It makes everything easy because I literally just... turn onto the highway. I was asking a student to drive me home last night because I was really tired. I was like,
what a weird
hey.
sentence.
Because I just joke around with them. I'm like, hey, you can drive me home, right? And she's like, well, I don't know where it is. And I was like, well, it's basically just 2 rights and a left. You're fine. You got it.
Sounds like Dr. Zoidberg's apology dance.
Anywho, so I was driving down Normandale, which is Highway 100, and I get, about 30 feet away from the intersection, the last intersection before my, the last main intersection with a stoplight before my house.
Sure.
And everyone's slamming on their brakes, which is not, even though the light's green, which is not uncommon because it's a hill that gets really icy. And everyone likes to get into the turn lane at the last second.
And don't forget every Karen and their crossover.
Yeah. And it's right by a grocery store, too, so people are trying to, like,
Please tell
turn
me it's
into
not
the
a Whole
grocery
Foods.
store. It's Lund's.
Oh, that's
Lund.
almost as bad.
No,
Well, almost as good.
Instead of being super foresters that are cutting you off, taking a left from the far right lane, it's like a Lincoln Corsair.
Yeah, but there's no there's no stoplight where the grocery store is, so it's a cluster. And so I'm used to people randomly stopping, and I was like I had to stay in the left lane because I got to make a left turn. So I'm just like, why do I have to do this? Why do I have to cut over and then cut people off? Like, they hate when I brake in the left lane to make my turn.
Well, yeah, but it's because you're doing the with a car.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh man, like I had none of this. Like, there's not enough traffic because I was leaving work late. So I was like, this traffic pattern doesn't happen. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I see a black car with its brake lights on, and I'm like, what is going on? And so like I stop, and
Sure.
everybody's like had gotten into the right lane anyway. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is why everyone's doing that. But I looked past this car with the brake lights on, and there's 3 cars in front of this black car with their hazards on.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, what is going on? And there was a silver car perpendicular to another car.
With one of the hazards on? I'm
Yes,
trying to place.
hazards
Okay.
on. Making a T shape from the turn lane into the left lane.
Okay.
But hadn't gone over the barrier.
Okay.
And then another car stopped in front of them for God knows what reason. So there's 4 cars. It looked like a Tetris game being played with cars.
That's not a good thing to see when you need to get somewhere.
And I was just looking at it, and I was like, what? How did this car all of a sudden end up sideways in the middle of the street from the turn lane into the left lane?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it at this angle? Why is it, like, it made no sense whatsoever. And so I call Ryan immediately, being like, hey, ignore this intersection.
Avoid it. Just do the
Yeah, I was
do
like,
a loop.
ignore it. And then I explained it to him, and he was like, wait, what? And so because he heard my description, he's like, no, I gotta drive past it.
Oh yeah.
And
It's a normal
he
human tendency.
drove past it, and I get to the car, and he's like, what was that? And I'm like, we gotta go past it again. And we were like driving past it.
We're not part of the problem. We're part of the solution.
Yeah.
Well, my thought was that, okay, obviously this car that is now turned around and underneath this Toyota Highlander obviously must have just like understeered while taking a right to go northbound and just went over the median, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
There weren't any tire marks.
Over the median?
Oh no. And the trajectory of the car, there's no way this car could have gone through the first turn lane and like gone on the incoming traffic. So somehow this car managed to turn itself around. It was bone dry on
Yeah.
that section of road. Like there's no ice. So it's not like they.
No, all the ice melted yesterday.
But this car had been turned around. So the car had been turned around to be facing 5 degrees. So behind it and then a little bit to the left. And then there's a Toyota Highlander that crashed into it and was like up and like on top of it.
Oh, so the Highlander did it.
The Highlander hit the white Corolla
That's
spun
perpendicular.
around. Yeah, it spun around.
See, I didn't know what vehicles they were
Yeah.
because I was not wearing my glasses.
And then there was a very confusing at the BMW that apparently was somehow involved, but I didn't see his car with any
Yeah.
damage.
And
Wait,
didn't
I
want to be
couldn't-
left out.
Yeah,
I
apparently.
couldn't tell if they were stopping to help, which
Maybe they
in
witnessed
case,
it.
like, you shouldn't do that because it's dark there, like, and there's a parking lot close by.
I bet their timing chains are rattling and they're trying to get out of their car, so they
yeah.
stopped hoping to be rear-ended.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
probably.
this is the thing. There's no damage to anywhere on the car except for the front.
And
Like,
maybe
so-
inside the engine.
Yeah, but I was very confused. Apparently, I wasn't the only one that was confused because I drove by, the cop was scratching his head. I think he might have just happened to have been doing that, but
For the sake of this story, he was.
was.
What the hell? How did this happen?
Yeah, no, and we did like, cause I called him when he was like 15 minutes out, and the cops just arrived when he made it there.
Okay.
And so when we circled back to go to his house, you know, and we drove past them again, the cops were still there. No tow trucks to be seen because nobody knew what the heck happened.
my favorite part is
Everyone had just completely different stories.
Well,
Well, Santa and his reindeer jumped out into the road, and then I got hit by this Highlander.
Yeah.
And the Highlander's like, this dude in the Corolla just like parked diagonally.
Yeah.
Suddenly, and I found myself on top of them.
Yeah.
So my-
and it's just
I'm just sitting here going like, obviously this is what happened. Like in my head is like they're all telling the police officer their stories, and they're all like, the guy at the Corolla's like, this man with the Highlander crashed into me,
The maniac.
and then the Highlander's like, this person stopped and suddenly in the middle of the road, and the police officer's like, why is your car facing the wrong direction? And the person at the Corolla's probably like, that's not my problem. The problem
Look,
is that I got crashed into.
I got hit, all right?
Like,
Are you
I
going
got
to do
hit.
something
Are we gonna
about
fix
this?
my car getting hit? Or like, well, why was the car that way? My car got hit, sir. Like,
yeah, like and it's not
Knee-high white tube socks and a
Just
very
angry.
short haircut.
and like the unusual thing was not a car accident happening in this spot because it's like the intersection with Normandale is the street the high school is
I definitely
on.
understand just wanting to understand how it happened.
Yeah.
that's
So,
that's
like,
her
I
whole
see
thing.
car accidents at that intersection all the time, and none of them had ended in a Tetris board.
And
Like,
so this is the thing is,
like-
my original thought was obviously somebody turned going into oncoming traffic.
yeah,
Right.
There's no way that they could have done that.
Well, especially because we have snow here right now, so
Yeah.
you can see evidence of where things came from.
and there's
Yes.
a median in
And there's a
between.
median. There's nothing went over the median. This is so far back, like from the intersection. There's no way this person just turns
Yeah.
too soon to come to oncoming traffic. Because
Right.
there was 3 cars that were in front of them that stopped to like figure out what was going
Yeah,
on.
and
Like it was just this one car got hit.
They're all.
Like this car just like spawned out of nowhere. Like have you ever been playing like Grand Theft Auto and that car just like spawns in the middle of the
Well,
intersection?
even like Rally Sport Challenge, like you fly off the cliff, you just hit the white button on the controller, and it respawns you on the road.
Yeah.
And it immediately lets you get hit by somebody. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what happened. He just respawned in front of me.
Exactly.
It's
Probably-
literally yeah.
That's the answer that the Highlander guy gave. Like this
Yeah.
car spawned in front of my car.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's like no glass where like anything like you could see body damage, but there wasn't any glass. No headlights were
No
broken.
airbags.
No airbags.
Yeah, the headlights are fine.
This has been, according to Scott, this was the week of the airbag deployment in Minnesota.
Oh really?
Because yeah, he was like last Saturday when we had that ice storm.
Yeah.
Apparently, they had to drive from their house to the airport.
Yeah.
And they're like every single vehicle that we saw crashed, and there were a bunch, had deployed airbags.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. There's no airbags. That's,
Oh, and I get it because like it was terrifying driving a car with good brand new
Oh,
snow
yeah.
tires that day.
Well,
I'm
to
like, okay.
be fair, as far as airbags go, they go off once the bumper gets moved.
Right.
This
Yeah.
completely missed the bumper. It's like that Subaru that had the fire hydrant
Yeah.
stuck inside of it. The airbags didn't deploy because it never hit the airbag.
Right. Crash sensors are
sensor
usually like
on-
midway between
Yeah.
the center point and the outside of the car.
Yeah.
Two spots.
But yeah, I was just very confused and like thrown off, and they saw me like shake my hands at them because I was like,
Allegedly.
what are you doing? Like, cause like you know they're in my lane, they're in the turn lane, like. People have. I thought that it was a stalled car, and then all of a sudden,
No, it was installed.
it was a.
Well, it was currently stalled.
yeah, yeah. It wasn't.
It was
the
like an
original
operational
issue.
stall.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
We'll check on chat here. We have. Scott said he was having chat issues earlier. I just want to make sure that we're okay. But yeah, feel free to go on to.
here I'll go on to mine. So and then we'll do yours
Yeah, I'll
after
do
mine.
mine after that.
So mine is all right. So I have to preface this. When it was super cold outside, I had a chunk of ice that was caught underneath my car in such a way that when I would accelerate, the wind would catch it. It would flap back and forth, and I was afraid that my timing chain was making noise.
Okay. Okay.
On these,
That's totally understandable. I've been
Yeah.
there before. I'm like, oh no, I have to replace my X, Y, or Z. And then
Yeah.
you get out and you're like, oh,
yeah, it's just
no,
that.
I'm good.
It was a nightmare. It was like I was a little low on oil, so it was like the engine was a little bit noisier. But
I assume those have hydraulic lifters.
yeah, so the lifter is just a little bit of lifter noise. I put in like a half a quart and I'll calm down. And then I noticed that there's a big chunk of ice underneath the car. I'm sitting there, I'm like, shit, I have to do an engine swap. And luckily, owning a Mazda, well, not luckily.
Is this when you texted me the CX-7 thing?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, that was because we had CX-7 that at the same time.
I gotcha.
Had come into our shop and we opened up the hood and there's an intercooler with like no ventilation.
It is, teeny intercooler with no ducting.
It's a top mount.
Yeah.
It's like totally just an engine
And
out.
it's not a Subaru.
Yeah, it's totally an engine out of a Speed 3 with like no ducting to the intercooler. It's really weird. Anyway, so on Mazdas with their timing chains, it's
Speed 6 on that because it's all-wheel drive.
Speed. It's the same engine. It's the 2.3 turbo. It's Speed 3.
Right, but
yeah. Anyway. So the on Mazda 4 cylinders, you have a really high failure rate of actually successfully doing timing chain jobs.
Right, because it's a pressure fit cam gear on the bottom.
Yeah, so you're almost always guaranteed to break it.
Yeah.
So I was doing some research on what the best engine swap would be. I kind of knew that the Ford Fusion 2.5 liters bolted in. I also knew that EcoBoost bolt in as well. I did not know how easily they do EcoBoost. You literally have to put on the Mazda accessories onto the long block and it works. It's pretty cool.
Aren't those direct injection?
Yes.
But they also have port injection.
They're direct injection, but they have a mechanical fuel pump on the block that just pressures it, raises the fuel pressure.
And what do you do for ECU in that case?
That's the thing. Is after like AIM Infinity, it's like super expensive.
Oh no, Ford Performance sells the 4-cylinder EcoBoost as crate engines. I assume you could buy an engine.
But those are like
$7,000. No way.
Yeah,
with an engine, yes. But like I'm saying, I think you can buy
just ECU.
I think you can buy the management.
That might, you might be able to do that. Yeah. So, but either way, that's like an expensive like $4,000 proposition.
Yeah.
For $300, that's or 300 horsepower. That's like a lot of money you'll be spending. When I could just spend $300 and get myself a Ford Fusion 2.5 liter engine, which is also direct injection, but whatever.
Yeah, but that is close enough a displacement where you just throw a port injected manifold on it, plug the direct injectors. My van's ECU will power those injectors and everything. And it just works out without a problem because it's such a weird design. But yeah, it will just bolt right on. But anyway, so I was looking into this. So the Ford Fusion 2.5 liter engine, that will raise me from having 150 horsepower in my van to having 175. And then if I do if I do an exhaust and do an intake, I can get in like a tune. You can get over 200 horsepower with those without a problem. Well, that's a lot of displacement for a 4-cylinder.
Yeah, and 200 horsepower for my van, like for what is effectively less than $1,000 to do all that, like that's not bad.
But I don't think your 2.3 is especially unhealthy.
No, but assuming that I was having timing chain problems.
Right, I understand that.
That's why I did all this here. I'm like, wow, that's really good value for money. I had my gears, started spinning my gears. I'm like, what is the best bang for the buck engine swap outside of an LS? Because frankly, LS's they work in longitudinal cars.
Right. I mean, we they kind of do now because you can get the GT40 transaxle, but that's beside the point. So, I have an answer for this too. Do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first?
I just did mine, I guess. So my first one, because I have a second one. What is your first one?
I'm just gonna say Honda K series, and that's
a really good one because
it's better power potential, especially per liter, than an LS. They're really light. They're really cheap.
They're very cheap. The really good ones, like the Type R stuff, those are not cheap.
They're not cheap.
But an Accord K series that you can then put even
a TSX one with the A2 head, which is 200 horse right out of the box.
Well, you can do the TSX head. You can do the Accord engine, and then you put on I think it's the RRG intake, which is one of the factory intakes. That's the one off. That's the Type S intake.
RSX Type S.
Yeah, the intake model is called a RRG.
Oh, okay.
Because they actually brand the different. They actually have like a code for each different intake design.
That makes sense, I guess.
Yeah. So that intake design, I think if you do the cams, like a performance cam, then you're good. And then you probably want to do timing chains anyway, just to be ahead of the game. So.
Yeah, I hear people replacing chains on K24s, but I've never heard of a K chain issue.
Huge problem.
Really?
Yeah, for like Karens.
Oh, people that don't change their oil?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I mean, luckily it's really easy on the K because the K is a lot like the F20, F22 engines, where the crank, it's got a Woodruff key.
Yeah, what a beautiful.
Wow.
Thing. Yeah.
great idea. Maybe Mazda should look into that.
I know, right?
And then that drives via a tensioner, a single cam gear up top, and then that actually uses a helical cut gear, which drives both the cams in reversing rotations.
That's actually really cool.
It's really cool because it means you don't have to disassemble anything on the head to change a timing chain.
It's like an LS chain. It's just like a straight chain.
Pretty much.
That's pretty easy.
It's one gear in the middle, and once you lock it at TDC, it doesn't move.
You can also get aluminum chain guides.
The factory runs plastic?
Yes.
Okay.
So they'll outlive the factory once you won't have to. It's a permanent fix. It's a soft metal that will last, well, unless you're doing something really dumb shit
like running 5W20 at 10,000 mile intervals.
Yeah, like that. that will kill them.
I can tell you, I'm not opening the 2.4 I've got. I'm just gonna run it.
Okay, that's fair. But I mean, that's
We'll
how
see what
that's how you can make some big powers by doing cams and stuff like that. But again,
Right,
the amount
but
of money
again,
you're spending on that,
You can do cams and valve train without touching the timing chain.
That's true, and you can. Doing that, for something that you're gonna be building on like a $4,000 budget, it's not getting 300 horsepower for $4,000.
Right.
For $4,000, if you spend your money correctly, the world's your oyster. I mean, you can get 600, 700 horsepower without a problem.
And we're talking on a displacement of 2.4 liters too. Where
It's
an
not
LS is
four-cylinder.
no wonder you could make 700 horsepower with your 6.2 liters.
Yeah.
I'm not discrediting the LS because it is
it's a
probably
great
the
engine.
best engine platform or second best in the world.
It's up there. It's one of the best engines ever made.
Anyone that hates on an LS just is wrong. But
The
there
LS
are more interesting options.
The LS is a perfectly good engine. In the same way that a Pilsner is a perfectly good beer.
Yep.
There's other more interesting beers that you could be drinking. But you know what? Last night, I opened my refrigerator and noticed I had one Pilsner Urquell left, and I was a little bummed. And I get it.
If you
like,
if you have
there's
a
an
car with an
appeal-
empty engine bay
There is an appeal to the Pilsner. I get it.
and all
that's-
you have is an LS, look, it'll be great, trust me.
gonna be a
but it's
perfectly
gonna be
fine
like,
engine.
oh, there's 15 other just like that. All right.
Yeah, it's like I could have a Pilsner or if I'm looking at my refrigerator and everything I have is like a stout or something I don't really want at this point in time, and I got one Pilsner left, I'm like, man, I really want this Pilsner. But if my option's a Pilsner or like a Mango Kolsch, I'm gonna take the Mango Kolsch.
Which is the K series.
That's the K series. That's a way more interesting engine. It's gonna be just as good, just as powerful. So
I've got two more, really quick. 4G,
which
4G63.
that's a good one. Now before you do your last one though,
Okay.
I want to talk about the OneEasy.
Okay.
So the 4G63, let's talk about that for a second because that I'm actually surprised to hear from you because that's a lot of stuff you don't like. You don't like iron blocks. You don't like timing belts because I think it's be difficult.
Yeah. The reason I picked the 4G, engine management is balls cheap for
Yes.
those. That can take like a zillion PSI if you get a Gen 2 or newer. And the engines themselves are pretty cheap.
We should also note I think it's the Hyundai Kappa, the Hyundai 4G. So if you're super on a budget,
The old Sonata motor.
yeah, if you're super on a budget and say you get like a single cam, 4G equivalent. So if you get like a Galant or something with a 2.4, a 4G64.
Yep.
You can use the Hyundai cylinder head, which you can find at every junkyard for free. And you can put that on. That actually raises your power a ton. And those respond very well to boost because they flow a lot better than the normal Mitsubishi head.
Yeah, and the 2.4 bottom end, I mean, Matt back in the day was buying those 2.4s by the dozen from junkyards because the blocks are really good.
It's a great block. Yeah, they still do.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. So yeah, that's actually kind of a top tip. I mean, if you want to build a 4G on a budget, yeah, go get a Galant 2.4, an older one that it has had some oil changes at some point, maybe. It doesn't have a big piston ridge. So that's really all you got to worry about. And then, get the Kappa
the
Hyundai cylinder
Hyundai
head.
dual red cam 90s,
That's in
early
the
2000s. cylinder head.
First gen Tib and the Sonata. Are
the Kia
most,
Optima and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep. Before they went to the 2.7.
It was actually, they used that engine all the way until they went with direct injection.
Oh, so anything pre 2.0T?
Yep.
Or in the 2.4?
Yeah, everything pre TGI.
That's GDI.
GDI, that's what it was.
That's probably 2010 and prior then. Okay.
So
that
2010
gives
prior,
you
yeah, that's
really.
That's a
So
lot
like the
of cylinder
four-cylinder
heads.
08 Sonata's got one of those.
Yep.
You will be able to find one of those heads at a junkyard for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, they are free. and they bolt directly on. That's a super good engine. I want to talk about the OneUZ FE.
Okay.
This is an engine.
That's the Lexus 4-liter V8.
If you get a pre-94,
Yep.
that's got
Pre-VVTi.
pre-VVTi. Well, no, pre-94.
Yeah.
Not because they had 95 through 97, which also was a OneUZ, but had significantly thinner connecting rods. So if you get, you can actually find OneUZ connecting rod charts. Just like type in OneUZ connecting rod comparison, and then go to images.
Let me turn on the cap here.
Right there.
Damn.
Look
That
at
is a
that.
lot of different con rods.
Look at the 89 to
Copy.
94 OneUZ connecting rod. That's a beefcake of a rod.
That looks like the BMW M50 rods.
Yeah. So 89 to 94 OneUZs, stock power, they can hold well over 600 horsepower
Sure.
without having to open them up. And then LE Extreme, of course, they make some ridiculous one, the H-Beam one.
Right. Yeah, that's the
fits
kind of
all
rod
the
you see in a
UZs.
2,000 horsepower engine right there.
Yeah. But I mean, like, still, a OneUZ factory one, OneUZs can make just as much power as an LS. But a lot of people, what they do is they'll buy, like, a 3UZ or, like, a OneUZ VVTi where they got these little baby bitch rods.
Honestly, like this rod in the middle, the 98 to 2000 VVTi, and the 01 to 06 3UZ rod, these look really strong too because they're light, but they have a lot of meat down near the big end and
Yes.
the little end of the rod.
They-
yeah, 98 to 2000.
Yeah.
I don't know. That one, well, I guess it's better than the 95, 97's terrible.
Yeah.
98 to 06, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The-
89 to 04. A lot of mass, but that looks very hefty.
And, well, that's the thing is they don't rev, you know, like the other ones do, but you don't care about revs with a V8. It's a V8. Like,
I mean, the 4.3, the 2UZ.
it's a cross-plane V8. Like, this is a grunty, hairy engine.
I know, but like if you really wind out one of the 4.3s, it sounds a lot like the Maserati V8.
Yeah, but it's still, it's not. If it was a flat plane, I'd be more akin to going with the 3UZ rod, because like then like yeah, what matters is getting it to like 15,000 RPM.
The 2UZ is a 4.3 and the 3UZ is a 4.7, right?
Yeah, I think so. But the 1UZ, the 89 to 94 connecting rod, that makes that engine $500 all day long for like a really good one.
You
For
can buy
like
an entire car with that engine in it for that easily.
You can go on carpark.com and find any number of them, like with well over.
We talked about this almost a year ago.
Yes, we did.
Before you buy a car, go to Carpart and
And
see how much an
is.
engine costs. That will tell
Yes.
you how reliable it is. And yeah, 1UZs are free.
Yeah.
Because they made a ton of them and they never break.
So you can get them for, $300 to $500 all day long at junkyards.
Probably complete, yeah.
Yeah, complete. You can turbocharge that on E85 with some whatever you want to do for engine management.
And these are alloy blocks. So they're a
Yeah.
lot lighter than the J engines.
It's true, and they'll last forever. You can get them with 200,000 miles and still make it on power.
Oh,
You'll have to plug.
Matt Farah's car.
Yeah, you'll have to plug like no shortage of oil leaks, but I mean.
Yeah,
like,
watch out for oil leaks and water pump leaks for alternator reasons.
Yes.
That's a really big problem on the 1UZ.
Yeah. So, but that's a very, very good engine to get for cheap, and you can, that's the thing is if you're getting one out of a junkyard, it doesn't matter what the alternator is like, because you want to replace that anyway while it's out.
Yeah, I mean, if it works, keep it as a spare, because you will go through alternators on that engine.
And you'll
but
probably, and if you're replacing a bunch of oil, if you're doing a bunch of oil leaks, you got to pull the intake manifold off. Just throw in a new starter while you're at it. You'll thank yourself later.
yeah, he speaks the truth. There are a couple things on the 1UZ that we learned many decades after the fact.
Yeah.
And that is starters and alternators.
Starters suck.
And
'cause they're
secondary,
under
the water
intake.
pump as well.
So anyway, what was your last engine that you
The
noted?
1J.
The 1JZ?
Not the 2JZ, but the 1JZ.
Yes, because the 1JZ is a hell of a lot cheaper.
1JZ is a hell of a lot
GTE, you should
cheaper.
say, yeah.
Well, yeah. Even whatever.
No, the 1JZ GTE is a lot cheaper. Because the 2JZ GE you can get for not a lot.
Fine.
But,
But
yeah,
they
the-
also made non-turbo 1JZ.
I don't think so.
Not in this country. Okay, fine.
Because I think they did the 1G, or they did a 2.5
Well, the
liter.
GZ's the V12.
Not the GZ, but just the 1G.
Oh,
They
okay.
made-
Anyway,
they had a different, smaller displacement in
1JZ GTE, preferably even the VVTi one because it's a little bit cheaper. But you see those engines in the weirdest places. You don't see those in Toyota drag cars.
Well, it's because they're
You
in
see them
Russia.
in Volvos. You
Yeah.
see them in Nissans. You see them in all this other weird shit.
So, I was actually talking to a Russian guy.
Yikes.
That came here.
Hopefully you're okay.
Yeah, I'm fine. But do you remember that Lexus I sent you?
You've sent me many Lexuses.
The green one that's for sale up in
Yes.
Northeast.
By Anchor.
He ended up buying that car.
Okay.
And he's a big Lexus fan, a Toyota fan. Before he came to America, he had a Toyota Cresta with a 1JZ. And he's talking about how, I told him, I'm like, these OneEasys are great engines. He goes, that's kind of a grandpa engine. I'm like, you can make a lot of power on them, though. Like, this one was the wrong year, so that's why I backed off of it. But if it was like a 94, I would have been all over it. And I was like, explaining to him, he's like, oh, yeah, in Russia, we never mess with the 1UZ because, like, the 1UZ is in literally everything. So you go to junkyard, and there's like a dozen of them. Mm-hmm. So we just throw them into whatever we want.
Yeah.
So that's what you were talking about. It's just like you find them in the weirdest stuff. Because, some guy in Russia has a lot of engines popped.
Well, and a lot of those, they're pre-immobilizers. So, like, you can run factory Toyota ECUs with no problem.
You just throw it in. And
that engine management is a really big thing that people overlook when they're doing weird swaps.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't make an engine run with 4 wires,
you're done.
You significantly cut who you're going to market that engine to.
That's very true. And that's why I didn't go with the 1GZ, with a V12 for the Cressida. Because I'd have to completely rewire the car and run 2 different ECUs, and then somehow figure out how to make the ignition work on that, which would be just awful.
Nah, you just have to get a Mega Jolt, which is super easy to work.
Yeah, I know. Or I've looked for a V12 aftermarket ECU.
So Mega Squirt 3 Pro,
no,
Haltech 3000, and the Cyvex.
Cyvex, yep.
And I think the AEM Infinity can do V12s too.
No, it can only do 8. No, it can go up to 10, actually. Sorry.
I think you can do 12 with Wasted Spark.
Maybe. If you did just 6 and
But yeah, you have to run batch fire injection and Wasted Spark.
Yeah, that'd be really dumb.
It'd be fine.
But with
Mega Squirt 3 Pro X can do it, though.
Yeah, so it was, regardless, to get something that would work really well and like have like variable valve timing work and everything, it'd be like a $10,000 ECU.
Yeah.
For a $3,000 engine. It'd be a $13,000.
$3,000 including a trans with shipping.
Yeah. Like on my door.
Yep.
And then I'd have to spend all the money in the world.
Yep.
To make it work.
That's why we don't see 1GZ swaps yet.
Yes. That's why there's like I've seen 2 of them in my life and both of them
and
are
you know what?
carburetors.
Gen 4 small blocks, you can run them on a $330 standalone.
Yeah. So that's why the LS works.
And also, you can just pirate a copy of whatever the EFI Live is and just flash your stock Chevy DME from like 1989 to 2007 because they're all the same thing in every one of their cars, and there's no encryption on it.
None. And so this is why the LS is like...
Engine management? Honestly, yeah.
Engine management is the reason why. Like, engine management, it's so huge and so nerdy and so dumb and so not exciting.
Like, even with the K-swap, I'm finding that is like the worst part of the K-swap.
Yeah,
because
use a K-Pro.
If you use anything other than the A2, doesn't matter if it's K20 or K24, you have to use a K-Pro, and that's a brand new product. Like, it is in its infancy. Whereas if you have an A2, you can run K-Tuner, and it's just easy.
Yeah. It's very frustrating.
Honda is obviously the big daddy for Honda tuning and immobilizer management, but you can't run A2 hardware on an A3 or A4 because the heads are different enough where you can't run the hard points. So I have an A4 engine, which means I have to run an Accorder and Element harness, which I already have, but I have to run K-Pro.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
It's pricey.
But yeah, that's the thing is, with these engine management things, that's what I'm thinking. For me, my overall winner for best bang for your buck engine, Ford Fusion 2.5. It uses factory ECM. It gives me 200 horsepower.
For your application, I agree.
I think for a front-wheel drive vehicle. And
if you have a Mazda 3 or a Mazda 5, perfect.
Yeah. I think that, and I think if you don't have a Mazda, then you go with the
K-Series.
I'd say a 4G.
4G.
I would say the 4G. That'd be worth it. Like,
but the K... Oh, you really have to decide what your budget is. If you can afford engine management for your K, or you have a cheap A2,
best bang for your buck.
Yeah, 4G.
4G, and then
it's a little heavier, but who cares?
Yeah, 4G or a 1.
Should specify the 4G that's made from the Hyundai cylinder head and a Galant bottom end.
Okay, Frankenstein 4G for front wheel drive, and if it's rear wheel drive, OneEasy.
Franken motors are great.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the OneEasy.
There's that. I mean, there are in almost every popular platform, there are good Franken motor combinations.
Jan, do you know any weirdo engines that we missed?
No.
Okay, there we go. Oh! H-Series. Honda H-Series.
Okay.
Because I just forgot. You can, at $3,000, you can buy yourself a ES Civic chassis.
Okay.
That is of questionable quality. You can get yourself an H-Series engine and transmission. and then you can put that together with the right combination of parts. You can run an 11-second quarter mile on $3,000.
That's pretty
on
good.
the car. So, H series.
I mean, I guess if we're mentioning the H, we should mention the B, but that's too expensive now
No.
because people bought them dry.
No, the thing is, you can do so much. It's so much more expensive to build a B than it is an H.
You know what I
It
kind of
doesn't
want
make
to do?
sense.
That doesn't make any sense. 93 Civic sedan with some modern, really high horsepower NA Honda engine that's cheap. And
That'd be
just,
very cool.
Then just use it.
That'd be a great car. That'd be a horrible car for where you live.
Oh, yeah.
It would get stolen immediately.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
thank goodness he has a garage.
Well, and a backyard.
In the back.
Like an EG,
And
an
a
EG
ring.
sedan with that K series would be great.
It'd be great because it looks like you run the 13-inch with the hubcaps, but
That'd
you
be perfect.
make 300.
There's a guy.
Okay.
There's a guy in town that's got a EK, a beige EK with a K24 turbo,
Oh, man.
and like he even put on he put
just
on
lay
like
the hurt.
he's got cheater slicks up front. He's got hubcaps over the steel wheels.
Awesome.
And the only way you can tell that he's got the car's got anything going on with it, he's got extended wheel studs that are sticking out the hubcaps.
Okay.
Because he put on because they're like a really deep dish wheel.
Sure.
So he got extended wheel studs, so he could put another.
I'm picturing this dude. He's got like welds on the front, and he's like bolted the hubcaps to the welds.
No, it's like he's got like diamond racing steelies.
Okay.
And then extended wheel studs, because on Hondas the hubcaps are held on by a washer over the wheel bolt or the lug nut.
I don't remember that. I'm
Yeah.
sure you're right.
Yeah, they are. That's how Honda
I
does
did
their
brakes
hubcaps.
on the 93 that we had.
That's
but I
why
don't
that's why
remember
hubcaps never come off on Hondas because they're held on by a washer.
That's
So
a much smarter way
he
of
just
doing it.
he threw the extra wheel bolt on with it was just really cool. But yeah, anyway, that's there's somebody that's doing that. You should really do it too.
Well, maybe. I have a lot of other things I want to do first, but I suppose in the interest of things, we should move on.
Why don't we? You know what? We're already sitting here at
An hour and
an
1 minute.
hour. And we're a little low on topics from next week, so there's a lot going on with Gon. And I want to be able to give him his proper time in the
Let's
sunlight.
use
So let's
that
do-
one and my topic after that and the topic after that next week.
Yeah,
But
and
I'm going to quick
I
cover
want
the
to talk
Subaru.
this Subaru thing 'cause this is interesting.
And before that, here's a gratuitous shot very quickly.
That is a
of a
Bugatti.
beautiful Type 35 inline 8. I'll
Yes.
explain that next week. Okay, Subaru. They were I'm not making this up. Just because I hate Subarus for the most part. They are recalling 250,000 FA series engines for
It's like all of them.
engine oil getting where it's not supposed to be.
What?
Is that really what it says?
Yeah, yeah. It is literally engine oil getting where it's not supposed to be, and this could result,
Oh, a faulty part in the engine can allow engine oil to enter places it shouldn't.
Yep.
That's shocking.
might result in blue smoke out of the tailpipe exhaust, particularly bluish or grayish.
Oh.
So it sounds like a ringland.
It sounds like a pretty significant problem where oil is being burned in the engine. Also, I don't know what I just did, but I deleted the scene that just had our cameras on it, so I'll have to fix that outside.
Oh
That's-
no!
OBS, come on, man.
How did you do that?
So anyway, you had a car come in that's within this.
I had a FA that came in, and it came in with a different. It's actually, I think your FB is. It's FB25.
I don't know. I thought the FB was like the turbo variant, but then
No.
I realized that there are NA FBs. I'm just like,
So
okay.
the FA20 is only in the BRZ. Because
And the FRS and the GT86.
yes,
the
because
Toyota
that's got-
BRZ
that's got the-
GT86
it's got the twin.
Direct injection and port injection?
The twin injection.
These don't have that?
No, these are just direct injection.
Garbage.
I know.
Trash.
Trust me, there's a reason I quit selling Subarus. All right, so this is what I got. I got 2014 Forester here at the 2.5.
'Kay.
Came into work. It was running rough. Well, they were having, they had an oil leak from their cam actuator. Not surprising that would cause it to run rough. It's like a common failure point on most cars with variable valve timing.
Sure.
The only one I've ever heard of not having that issue is a Honda. So,
Also, BMW has like never ever had a VVT failure.
really, that's weird. So this car, we did that, still running rough. We go through, look at the spark plugs. Spark plugs are questionable, so we put in new spark plugs. Still, what the hell is going on? So we bought a new compression tester because Subarus, shitty of engines as they are, they usually don't outright quit like this.
Right.
was 40 psi low on one cylinder with this engine. And we
That's
put
pretty significant when you're dealing with probably 200 psi to start with.
Yeah. And so you put a stethoscope up to it. All the cylinders except for cylinder 1 sound normal. Cylinder 1 had a broken valve spring. And that
How many
was
miles were on this?
140.
So it's a bit, but
That's still totally.
you shouldn't break a valve spring.
Listen, I got 350,000 mile FJ or EJs coming through my shop that are fine. They had their head gaskets done at 150, and they have
And
like
they'll need them again soon, but
no,
it's fine.
no, because they do it updated. They use a multi-layer steel instead of compression head gasket.
Which is arguably worse on used engines because they're not flat anymore.
It works
Fine.
anyway. Other than like a little bit of oil getting past the ring lands, they're fine. They just use like a quart every 10,000 miles, so it's like whatever. Anyway, this car, 140, and it needs complete engine teardown. It is to remove the cylinder head is 14 hours.
Oh yeah, because the
There's a timing
timing
chain.
case on
Yeah.
that engine
It's
with the
insane.
integrated oil pump is ridiculous. I like the FAFB more than I like the EJ engines, but
I don't think I do anymore.
I still do.
This is my reasoning. It has to do one head. On the FJs, or the EJs, those are that much money to do both head gaskets, and then you're fine for a totally normal daily driver that you're not taking to the racetrack. You're gonna for Karen, she's gonna be fine. Like she'll have like a little bit of weird stuff happening, but the Subaru, that's what you deal with.
It's what makes a Subaru a Subaru.
Yeah, there's weird stuff happening. But yeah, so that was really weird. And I know that they've had a recall on this previously because they had the valve spring failure that they recalled, and then it was just dropping valves straight into pistons.
Yikes.
Yeah, way
you-
worse. Like,
In a Subaru, is it even dropping a valve? Because it's like, it's all sideways.
I know! Like it's
It's
super,
like it's pushing valves.
It's throwing a valve. How about that?
That's better. I like that.
So yeah, this isn't the first major failure that Subaru's had with the new engine, and that's what I'm saying. That the EJ engines,
If they're equally failure prone, I'm in agreement with you because the
Yes.
belt drive EJ is easier to work on.
yeah, then that's the thing is you're gonna be having to deal with
And
a
the
bunch of
FAFB
trash.
timing case is idiotic.
It's really stupid.
It's really dumb. The integrated oil pump, which isn't very reliable.
So
anyway.
what cars are being recalled, like specifically?
Mainly XV Crosstracks.
Can you scroll down to show me what they
Yeah,
are?
I
So you
think pretty much anything, even the turbo, the Ascent. So I
so
think this
these
might
are,
all be the two
these
fives.
are no, these are all 20s. These are all 2.0s.
No, Ascents are 2.5s.
Ascents are 2.4 twin turbos actually.
The
At
one that
29
Grimspeed bought is a 2.5 single turbo.
I thought it was a 2.4 twin.
It uses the new STI
Yeah,
motor.
I thought it was a 2.4 twin.
Oh, maybe Randy told me the wrong thing.
Randy Stern.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I guarantee you he did.
Okay, fine. 2.4 twin turbo then. So yeah, Ryan, tell the people what engines these are.
So it's the FB20. It looks like the new FB24. I guess it was.
We'll go with 24. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a 2.4. Whatever the hell the new STI engine is.
Yeah.
This is a pretty catastrophic thing.
Yeah, because
Because this is the same engine that just had the
brand new.
This is the engine. This is the same engine that they just had the other recall on.
Worth noting, these are all 2017 and up, so that Forester you had is not even in
No.
this
No,
recall.
this is a completely different thing. So I feel
Notice
like
how the
Subaru's-
engine with port and direct injection not on any of these lists.
So this is why we're going to go back to why I prefer the EJ. So back then, Subaru was actually willing to like go, we made a shitty product, let me help you. This is Subaru scrambling to do a recall. This is not them owning
yeah,
up.
look how vague this is.
Yeah, this
Like
is really
this
dumb.
might be an occasional failure of some minor thing that could cause this.
But like on the EJs, so it took them 10 years to figure out that the head gaskets were going out on EJs. They updated the part number on all of them. Whenever you got them done, regardless of miles, you got the new updated part.
Sure.
And it
Well,
just
because
it
Subaru
fixes
does
the problem.
rolling manufacturing changes, so they
Yeah.
don't keep old parts anymore.
No, they don't. They just make it better. Subaru would, they would actually own up to like making a mistake, and they'd go out of their way to try and fix it and be proactive. This is Subaru being reactive. This is the same example of Subaru. They used to make cool cars, now they just make money. This is Subaru making money. Is them being reactive, waiting until something breaks.
Yep.
On their new engine.
I just
'Cause
like the BRZ. That's it.
the EJ engine took a decade for the this kind of stuff to start happening. Not
Yeah.
this soon. Not like right off the bat to start breaking.
And I'm sure by the end of production on the FAFB, it'll be completely fixed or whatever. But, I mean, they more or less fixed the EJ by the end of that engine, too.
Well, that's the thing. It's also the EJ. I mean, as long as you haven't had some sort of bottom end failure, you know, like really, it's $3,000 and you have the whole thing fixed.
But, I mean, you can't deny, like, the F-Series heads are, like,
These are
way better.
These engines are better engines, but
Yeah.
for like real life actual use, I don't know about that.
Yeah, they're not as idiot resistant as
'Cause-
the EJs were.
And that's the thing. It's like, you know, the Audi 3-liter was technically a better engine than the 2.8, but the 2.8 was a better engine than the 3-liter in the long run, even though neither of them are really great.
Yeah, but the 2.85 valve's okay.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It, like, on paper, the 3-liter was better.
Can we not talk about the 3-liter? I'm getting PTSD.
All right, let's move on to the next episode next week. Thank you so much for listening. We have a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
We learned nothing this week.
Yeah, we'll learn things next week.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was the holidays. We were avoiding things.
But we learned that beer destroys memories.
Yeah,
There you go.
happy 2020. Happy new decade.
Thanks for watching, guys. We will
Bye.
catch
Bye.
you next week.